Essentially, what Canadians voted for was a minority government. What they got was a joint government with the left-leaning NDP, who just basically side with the Liberals on anything. But that's not what Canadians voted for. But that is democracy, guys. You've got your democracy. Oh, fuck. It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. The government just isn't taking away your freedoms to choose what you want to watch on platforms like YouTube. It's took it away. Bill C-11 has passed in Canada. This is a sad day for freedom and liberty, as we're going to get into as we head over to the mainstream propaganda. CBC, controversial bill to regulate online streaming becomes law in Canada. Can't believe it, but it is true. A controversial government bill to overhaul Canadian broadcasting laws to regulate streaming services has passed the final hurdle in the Senate and received royal assent Thursday evening. After years of debate, the Senate gave its final approval Thursday to Bill C-11, also known as the Online Streaming Act. It received royal assent shortly after. So it's very, very sad that this has happened, and it's still unclear how this is going to affect everything on platforms like YouTube and TikTok. But the reason this has been debated on for so long is just because it's so controversial, and really it is just more central planning. Now, looking back at the past 2 years, who in their right mind would say to the government, yes, take away more of my freedom? I mean, this is just absolutely insane. It also requires the platforms to promote Canadian content. This is the cover that they are using for the bill to get these extra powers. It's going to promote Canadian content. That's why we're bringing this thing through. Think about it, guys. YouTube algorithm, TikTok, it all works the same in the sense that it's promoting things that you want to see. And this is what this is going to take away from you, the ability of you to choose what you want to see, because the government, the central planners, the authoritarians like Trudeau are now going to be able to dictate what you want to see. And whether people like it or not, that's the truth. My channel focuses on finance, economics. We have people viewing this channel all over the world, but predominantly the audience is in Canada. This is without this bill. The fact that they're saying, oh, it's going to promote Canadian content and all the rest of it is complete horseshit. They are using that as cover to bring this bill forward. And it may have been true in the past for things like radio and TV broadcasting, but this is social media. This is a totally different thing. So a lot of people who are sat on the fence think, well, it's not a bad idea to promote more Canadian content. No, that happens already. They are using this as cover. And excuse my French here, because we're a bilingual channel. The reality is that is the truth. And it's frustrating for me to see these freedoms just get washed away so easily, and nobody is prepared to do anything about it. There's really not much of an opposition. So many people are asleep in this country, and I think that is the sad thing. It's not just this bill. It's what the future holds for a country which just doesn't stand up for its freedom and liberty. And we saw over the past 2 years with the social credit scoring type systems that were put in place. People couldn't go to the movies because of a medical decision. That is absolutely insane. There will be carbon scores, all kinds of things in the future, and this is already things being discussed at the World Economic Forum. This isn't tinfoil hat stuff.
We're developing through technology an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint. What does that mean? That's where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? So individual carbon footprint tracker. Stay tuned. We don't have it operational yet, but this is something that we're working on.
This is what the central planners and the authoritarians are discussing at these events in Davos. And we know how involved the Canadian government is with the World Economic Forum.
This notion to integrate young leaders is part of the World Economic Forum since many years. What we are very proud of now, as a young generation like Prime Minister Trudeau, is that we penetrate the cabinets. So yesterday I was at a reception for Prime Minister Trudeau, and I knows that half of this cabinet, or even more half of this cabinet, are actually young global leaders of the world economy.
That's all you need to know about that, is the corrupt government. And it's not just Justin Trudeau, it's also Jagmeet Singh that also voted yes to this bill. The changes give the Canadian Radio, Television and Telecommunications Commission, CRTC, Canada's broadcast regulator, broad powers over digital media companies, including the ability to impose financial penalties, violations of the act. So the government says the legislation is necessary to impose the same regulations and requirements in place for traditional broadcasters on online media platforms. Right now, broadcasters are required to spend at least 30% of their revenue supporting Canadian content. And those are broadcasters. We're talking about YouTube channel. We're talking about basically independent contractors. And what they are using this for, again, is just cover and just spin for what it really is, which is said right there. It's broad powers to regulate and impose whatever restrictions they want to impose on these different media companies. For example, and I'm not saying this will happen, but it might be that they want to push forward the legacy media, things like the CBC, CTV, and all these other parties. They want to push those up into the forefront, or whatever it is, the politicians or whatever, the powers that this has is just unbelievable. Google, YouTube's parent company, launched a public campaign against the legislation, saying it would negatively affect users' experience on the platform, which is of course what it would do, because you're now not promoting what people want to see. The choices they make on what they watch on YouTube is now going to be controlled to a certain degree by the central planners and authoritarians. Is that a good thing? No, it is totally wrong. Do you want Justin Trudeau or whoever at the CRTC to decide what you watch? Because that is the reality of what's going to happen here. And who knows what's going to happen to all the political channels that report on what's going on in Canada? Do you think they might get suppressed? Do you think they might get shadow banned or deemed that they're speaking lots of misinformation? It's whatever the CRTC decides or whatever the government decides. Bill's effects in practice are still a mystery. Yeah, it's passed and become law, guys. For example, the bill says Canadian broadcasting should serve the needs and interests of all Canadians, including Canadians from racialized communities and Canadians of diverse ethno-cultural backgrounds, socioeconomic statuses, abilities and disabilities, sexual orientations, gender identities and expressions and ages. And once again, in an effort to not be racist, to not discriminate, they are going to be racist and they are going to discriminate. Another complicating factor is that the bill would give the CRTC new powers, but exactly how or even the CRTC would make use of them cannot be determined through an analysis of the bill alone. And isn't that crazy that this bill has passed already? We don't even know to the extent of these powers that they're going to get. I think it's a total disaster for freedom and liberty in Canada. Really is. And who knows what's going to happen? Who knows how videos are going to now get promoted? Who knows if this video is even going to get seen? Who knows if the channel is just going to die? If you don't see video recommendations from me anymore, you'll know what's happened. It's not the case for me, but many content creators earn solely their money through content creation. So that is literally what they're doing, and that's their job. And those people, it's up in the air right now what it really means for them. How's that going to affect your content? Nothing could happen. I doubt that's going to happen, but I do think things will go quiet. I don't think things will immediately change. I think we'll see this kind of fizzle out over the next 3 or 4 months, and then one by one we'll start seeing channels die and people getting shadow banned, and it will be when Bill C-11's in the rearview mirror and everybody's forgot about it, just like everything else, just like the Freedom Convoy, just like the social credit scoring that was around just last year. It's all forgotten about. Oh, it's just an absolute nightmare, guys. You can tell my frustration. And at the end of the day, you have to remember the government that just passed this bill, nobody voted for these guys. This is democracy, right? This is democracy. We have such a great democracy. Nobody voted for the government that just voted this in. Essentially, what Canadians voted for was a minority government. What they got was a joint government with the left-leaning NDP who just basically side with the Liberals on anything. But that's not what Canadians voted for. But that is democracy, guys. You've got your democracy. Oh, fuck. It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. Thank you so much for supporting and being here, and I will see you on the next one. Take care of yourselves, and yeah, I'll see you later.